This is the new Elgato Cam Link 4K. Just kidding, this is the old one. They used the same box for this, so I'm making a joke of that. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm using the Elgato Cam Link 4K to record this video right now in beautiful, crispy 4K with my Panasonic G7 camera and a Samyang 12mm f2.0 lens, because if you're going to use a setup like this, you need a wide enough angle lens on, crop sensor cameras to actually have you in field of view, and a wide aperture so that you can have enough light in so that you see yourself and it's not too dark and blocky. I have a lot to say about this camera. Most of it's good. Do want to, of course, disclose that Elgato sent this out free for review as always. They should be announcing it roughly an hour before this video is released. And I usually get to test the stuff and make sure that it's all working to my standards. And so far, other than some minor quirks that are consistent across other issues, we're good to go. So we're going to talk about this right after this. TubeBuddy is the best tool you can get. That was a really weird segue. TubeBuddy is the best tool you can get to manage your YouTube channel. You can update videos in bulk, optimize your SEO, syndicate to social media, back up your metadata, and more, all with a simple browser extension. Head to EposVox.com/TubeBuddy to learn more and download it for free. So the CamLink 4K slots in where the old CamLink was and basically just replaces it with a slight upgrade. They have basically just kind of updated the capture card chips that they are sourcing to use for the product and using the same housing, which is why it's not labeled CamLink 4K, which can be confusing if you have a bunch of CamLinks like I do. So I went ahead and fixed that problem with a little label. I got you. Unfortunately, yours won't come with the label. So it's the same, basically, Cam Link. It's available for the same price, $129.99 base, MSRP, and is just providing an upgrade in place because you won't be able to buy the original Cam Link for much longer or anymore. It was on some Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales for $99, which is a fantastic price to get in on it. But if you want that nice 4K upgrade, this is it. And this is actually one of the most accessible and affordable options for a camera input for 4K like this that you can get right now, which is why I'm pretty happy to talk about it. You may notice some snark in some of my capture card reviews because there's just so many of them nowadays, and it's kind of just like pick one. But for camlinky stuff, especially if you need the UVC driver that integrates into Skype or other programs that specifically look for a webcam, the CamLink is one of the few that's actually like a really good recommend for that. If you hear a bell in the background, it's my lovely kitten that won't stop moving, but I can't put her anywhere because they're working on our apartment this week. The only competitor that I can point the CamLink towards is the AVIO 4K, which I reviewed back in like 2015 or 2016. Almost identical capture card, although it's much bigger, much heavier, much less convenient to use. And at the time when I originally reviewed it, it was like $400. But it supports the same decode formats and things like that, although it has a scaler and some other fancy stuff. But if you're just using it for a camera input at a specific resolution, your end result will mostly be the same. There is some variance. It was probably cheaper for them to just reuse the same housing and just put the new chips in. But again, still a great option. And you would want a cam link if you want to basically go beyond webcam quality, because even with Logitech's most expensive webcam option, which is the Logitech Brio, or at least most expensive consumer webcam option, you get a 4K signal, but it has huge audio desync and delay issues, and it still looks like crap because it's a tiny sensor. Whereas for only a few $100, you can get a nice mirrorless camera. Steggy from Elgato was recommending a few Sony A-series cameras that were on sale, which have really good autofocus. Or you can get something like I have, which is the Panasonic G7. Previously, I used the ZCam E2. Set you up a nice manual focus lens, and if you're sitting here in front of your computer, you're not moving much, you don't really need autofocus. You're good to go. Nice, crispy quality. And I've now gone from 1080p 60, and people were complaining about the 60 FPS Facecam anyway, to 4K 30. Looking good. It's nice, sharp, and crisp, and looks really, really good. And it's going to be a nice upgrade for the Facecam stuff for my videos. But there is an issue that I ran into and was actually contacting my Elgato contact, freaking out, thinking there was an issue with the capture card because I was so used to how it operated at 1080p. Is there is more delay out of the G7 at 4K than 1080p. And this might be the case with your camera. And so you will need to just test this if you can, because the HDMI out at 1080p was previously 5 or 6 frames frames of delay from real time to what you saw in OBS, be it with the Cam Link or even the AVIO. That's what it was. And that's what I was running at. And every once in a while, it might look a little out of sync, but for the most part, you could keep it in sync and it's consistent and you can set up a delay in OBS and it was good to go. But it was enough that the audio was most of the time looking in sync. At 4K, it's closer to 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 frames of delay, which is enough that if you look at the audio waves, when I snap, the actual, like, there is I'm going to switch from my synced up copy of this audio to the delayed copy, and you can probably see there's a significant delay between my audio coming in the microphone and my face lining up in the camera, and I have to sync this up in post. Now, which I will work to do in the future, I just wanted to record all of this raw first. You can set up a manual delay in OBS, and I may do a separate tutorial on this in case you've missed that before. You can set up a manual delay in OBS on the video device to delay, or I guess on the audio device, to delay it by X number of frames. So you just need to experiment with that and get the exact frame time that you want it to sync up at, and you're good to go. So as long as it's a consistent delay and not a floating delay like Logitech's webcam, then not a problem. As far as what this capture card supports, it can go 3840 by 2160 up to 30 frames per second. And unfortunately, in certain programs like the Windows 10 camera app, 24 frames per second does not work. But that seems to be a limitation of the camera app, as long as you set it manually in OBS, you can still record at 24 FPS, which is pretty cool. You can do 1080p at up to 60 FPS, and even interlaced. They do support de-interlacing 1080i now, which was a big issue with the original Cam Link. A lot of broadcasters picked it up, wanting to use it for their 1080i broadcast cameras, and it just, they originally said it supported 1080i, and then some weird stuff happened, and they eventually just said, no, never mind. And then it can support 480p and 576p, 50, and stuff like that. But there is no scaler in here still. So the signal you put in is the signal you get out. It won't downscale it to 1080p or anything like that. So that is worth noting. This is a UVC capture card, which I believe is Universal Video Class Driver. Basically, that means that unlike their normal capture cards, like the HD60S or the 4K60 Pro or most, gaming capture cards, which work in OBS or XSplit or whatever as a capture card, those won't work as a webcam in certain programs that specifically look for webcams, like Discord, Skype, other video chatting apps, things where you need that. And so this will, which if that's something that's important to you, that's worth noting. Also, it will work without a proprietary driver. You don't need to go download anything from Elgato's website for it to work. It will just automatically install in your operating system and work out of the box without any limitations, which is really nice and really cool. This also means that it works with Windows, it works with Mac, and it sort of works with Linux. I still need to run and do another test with a different USB port, but I had some issues with it kind of glitching out. In one program, it would work fine for pictures, but it couldn't record video from it for some reason. And then in OBS, I got some weird color glitching, but it seems like it can work in Ubuntu. The community might have to fix it instead of, because Elgato doesn't support Linux at all. That's fine. There is some weird issue with the Windows 10 camera app specifically where whenever you change resolutions or anything like that, it basically disconnects and reconnects the capture card and changes modes and does some weird stuff. So you want to make sure you have it set up before you open your capture app. However, I do still have some weird driver issues with this that I had with this original Cam Link as well, in that sometimes the driver just says no within Windows. Sometimes I will plug it in, turn on my camera, open up OBS, and it will recognize the capture card, but I'll get a black screen. I'll open up the Windows 10 camera app, and it'll just stall out and never load anything at all. Open up Elgato's app, and it will load audio, but no video. And so then I have to change USB ports. But eventually I run out of USB ports where this hasn't happened, and I haven't figured out what the cause is. So I hope Elgato can fix this because it drives me up the wall, and it's actually why I was experimenting with switching to the AVIO 4K from the original Cam Link, because I was dealing with those issues. Not having software for the capture card can be scary for some people. Some people want software and they get mad when it's not provided. You can go to Elgato's website and download their 4K capture utility and use that for the Elgato Cam Link. And it can record up to 70 megabits per second at 4K 30. And you can even title your recordings and keep them organized and things like that, which you can't really do directly within OBS. So that's kind of neat. As far as color modes that this supports, it only supports I420 and NV12, which I believe are both 420 color spaces. Obviously I420 is. But I believe NV12 ends up limiting itself to 8-bit 420, but I could be wrong on that one. Funny enough, even this $400 capture card at 4K, I420, NV12, and then YV12. I know this review has been all over the place, but I just had to get pulled away to sign for the box for my new professional color grading capable HDR monitor. The thing is huge. Oh, man. Anyway, as I was saying, pretty much the same color modes are supported even in this $400 version, so I'm not going to dock Elgato for points for that one. I would love to see the gaming capture card market support more RGB color modes. I realize a lot of the lower end consumers can't support it, but a lot of us high end people, we'd buy your cards a lot more and a lot more of them if we could support the higher end modes, but if that raises the cost, that defeats the point. And yeah, for $129.99, the Camlink 4K replaces the original Camlink, and I keep showing the original because you will never notice the difference from the outside, which is unfortunate, but you can label it for yourself, or if you only have one, it doesn't matter. And the image is beautiful. My face cam for my tutorials and for my reviews when I'm at the desk will get a nice, lovely upgrade here. And this is definitely a path I recommend going if you want a nice upgrade for your stream quality. Do make sure that your camera supports clean HDMI output, because a lot of the cheaper Canon DSLRs do not. Even my $2,000 Canon DSLR does not. The 60 Mark II. Pretty much the only Canon DSLR that supports it natively, I'm pretty sure, is the 5D Mark IV, maybe the Mark III. Pretty much everything else, the T3i, T6i, 60 Mark II apparently, none of those support clean HDMI feeds, which means if you run it to the Camlink, you're going to get your overlays, and you can't really turn them off without custom firmware or something like that on your camera. Something like the Panasonic G7 can, most of the Sony cameras can, that have HDMI out. So do your research. Actually, the new GoPro Hero 7 Black would make a lovely webcam alternative. I've been trying to get a hold of one so I can make a video about that. So there are plenty of good options, and this will help with green screening as well, because webcam green screening is terrible. But do your research before you buy this and then get mad at this for not magically taking off the overlays, because that's not physically possible. Thank you so much for watching. Affiliate product links will be in the description below as available, because this was just announced. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more tech education. I'm EposVox, here to make tech easier and more fun. I'll see you next time. I'm going to go play with my new monitor. I'm so freaking stoked.